My near-death experience took place about 8 years ago. It was the 1-year anniversary of my wife's death, who had lost her battle with cancer after a 7-year fight. We had gotten married in 1960 and swore that we would always be together. In 2006, we found out that she had an aggressive form of lung cancer. We tried everything, eating better, chemotherapy, and even considered possible surgery to remove one of her lungs. In the end, the doctors decided that a 64-year-old woman would not be able to handle the surgery and the recovery that came with it. Out of options, we did what we had to. We continued to love each other until the day she told me it was time. I'll never forget the words she said to me that day, lying in her hospice bed with me and our sons surrounding her. She said that she was going home and that she would see me soon. I had been holding her hand when it went limp, and I knew that my Becca was gone. The rest of that day was a blur. I remember the medical examiner coming out and putting my wife in a body bag. I remember speaking with the funeral home director about how we wanted everything planned. I went to bed that night and cursed God for taking the love of my life away from me. I had never cried harder than I did that night. As the weeks turned into months, I stopped following our usual routines, eating healthy, and walking to stay fit. Everything, I just wanted to be with my Becca and was determined to speed up the process of my death. I pretty much stopped talking to friends and our boys. Everything in the house reminded me of her, so instead, I moved a mattress into the garage to get away from pictures from a happier time. Even the thought of suicide crossed my mind. I continued to decline in health and continued to curse God for taking my wife from me. I even got to the point of thinking that God was up there with my wife, laughing at me as I struggled to cope down here on earth. June 7, 2014, was a day that changed my life for the better. I had finally worked up the nerve to go see my wife's grave. It took me a while to find because of my age and my inability to walk as well as I used to when I was younger and healthier. As I made my way to my wife's grave, I could have sworn that I saw someone standing by it, but when I got there, no one was there. It must have been the sun, I thought to myself. Hi Bex, I'm sorry that this is the first time that I have visited. I'm sure you can tell that things aren't going so well down here. God, I miss you so much. What am I doing? I thought to myself. I'm talking to an inanimate object. I remember sighing as I left the flowers that I had brought and placed them on my wife's grave, stood up, wiped a tear away, said goodbye, and that I would visit more often, and began walking away from her grave. I turned back and saw the same person I had seen before standing by her grave. I thought to myself, what in the world is going on here? I took a few steps back toward my wife's grave and felt a sharp pain in my chest, which brought me first to my knees and then to my face. I felt the coolness of the grass, I smelled the dirt, then I was gone. I remember feeling a light that felt almost like a tornado pulling me in but not causing any destruction in its path. I didn't know where it was taking me, only that I couldn't escape, no matter how hard I tried. The light pulled me through a tunnel of clouds that appeared grayish like rain clouds. Finally, I found myself on the other side. The amount of love I felt in this place was indescribable. Some people describe it as overwhelming, but it is much, much more than that. The love faded, and I began hearing whispers, stuff that I had said in private about God and how he had abandoned me. I remember hearing myself damn God over and over after he took Becca. It amazed me that I was capable of such harsh words, especially considering I was strongly religious. I was practically raised in the church, as my dad was a pastor. The words that I said to God weren't the only ones that I heard. I heard words that I said about my wife during arguments, and I heard words that I said about my kids and how disappointed I was in them. Those words were magnified back at me, hundreds of times louder and more powerful than when I had spoken them originally. When the words became too much for me to bear, I shouted out to God, Becca, and my sons, begging for their forgiveness. The voices almost immediately disappeared, and I found myself standing at the bottom of the stairs leading up to the throne of God. The light was so bright that it hurt my eyes, but I felt no evil or hatred. I felt the same love that I had when I originally came here. As my eyes adjusted to the light, I could see a faint outline of someone sitting on the throne. It was about 20 seconds before this person on the throne spoke, like it was reading my mind and had already come up with the answers. I am the Alpha and Omega, the beginning and the end. I am God. I have heard the curses that you placed upon me. I have brought you here to air those grievances, God said. I was scared. God had brought me here to challenge him. What could I possibly say to one that knows everything? Yes, I admit to saying those words. I still feel that you took my Becca away from me. She was my life and my soul. She was my everything, and you took that from me, I said when I finally got up the nerve to speak. You're right. I brought her home. Her time on earth was finished as she had completed everything that she wanted to do in life, God said. What do you mean, she completed everything she wanted to do in life? I asked. Rebecca Joy wanted to do two things during her life. She wanted to marry her soulmate, and she wanted to raise children with the person that she considered the love of her life, you, God replied. As God said this, it dawned on me what he had previously said about bringing her home. Is she here? I asked. Yes, God said, you can see her one last time. God led me on a small tour of heaven, showing me the pearly gates where St. Peter would be waiting to see if my name was in the book of life. He led me over a lake that was the clearest and most beautiful that I have ever seen. He led me through pastures greener than the greenest green. Every place he showed me was too beautiful to describe in human words. He led me past places that he had prepared for others. Finally, we came to the place that he had prepared for me and Becca. It looked exactly like our house on earth from the street looking in. I immediately saw Becca doing what she loved to do in life. She was outside tending to her flowers. God gently said, you may go talk to her. I made my way up the driveway and stood next to my wife. She still hadn't noticed me. Hi Bex, I said. She turned her head to me, and a puzzled look came over her face. Why are you here, George? It's not your time. I don't know what happened or why I'm here, I truly don't. George, it isn't time for you to be here. You have to go back, she said sternly. I replied, again, I miss you, Bex. I can't do this without you. Yes, you can. You have to, for our boys. They still need you. We will see each other again, she said as she leaned forward and gently kissed me on my cheek. I awoke to find myself where I had fainted, with a groundskeeper running over to help me up. Are you okay, old-timer? He asked. Yes, I'm okay. How long have I been out? I said as I held out my hand so that he could help me up. Maybe about 30 seconds. I saw you pass out while I was tending to that grave, he said, pointing to my wife's grave. That's impossible, I thought to myself. It felt like I had talked to God and Bex for way longer than 30 seconds. I snapped out of it long enough to hear the groundskeeper say, "Do you need me to call an ambulance?" "No, I'm fine." It took me a few more months to process what I had gone through. Finally, I began to take care of myself again and eventually returned to my daily activities. I attend service regularly and also picked up gardening. These last 8 years have not been easy on me. I wish that I knew what was keeping me on earth. I will be 84 in August. I keep telling myself with each passing birthday that I can't have much time left. I just hope that Becca isn't mad at me for making her wait this long. I continue to dream of the day that I'll get to see and hold her in my arms again.